One of the biggest myths in leadership is that great, successful leaders know exactly what to do when things are uncertain. They don't. Most of the time, they're dealing with the same uncertainty the rest of us are. The difference is they make decisions differently. Because when the market changes, or your strategy stops working, or your team is facing a challenge with no obvious answer, waiting for certainty isn't a strategy. So today I want to share 4 habits that help leaders make decisions when nothing is clear. First, they see reality. Second, they stay open. Third, they adjust the path. And fourth, they take action. So let's start with the first one. Seeing reality. They separate facts from assumptions. This sounds really simple, but most people are really bad at it. So let's say sales are down. The fact is sales are down, right? But almost immediately we start telling ourselves stories. The market is terrible. Customers don't care. The team isn't performing. Leadership doesn't get it. And maybe those things are true, but maybe they're not. The problem is, once we treat assumptions like facts, we start solving the wrong problem. So one question I come back to often is, what do I know and what am I assuming? Because clarity starts when we stop confusing our interpretation with reality. The second thing great leaders do is they stay open. Most people rush towards certainty because certainty feels safe. Curiosity feels uncomfortable. It means admitting you might not know. It means asking questions instead of defending answers. And this gets harder the more successful you become because expertise is valuable. But expertise can become a trap. The longer something has worked, the easier it becomes to believe it always will work. And the leader who continues growing, they're not the ones who know the most. They're the ones who keep questioning what they think they know. So instead of asking, why isn't this working? They ask, what changed? What am I missing? What else could be true here? Because curiosity, it doesn't make you weak. It keeps you from getting stuck. And the third thing great leaders do is adjust or pivot. They separate the goal from the plan. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I see leaders make. They become attached to the path and they confuse commitment with rigidity. So let's say your goal is to increase top line revenue. Awesome. You create a strategy, you launch a strategy, and 6 months later, it isn't working. Many people double down. They push harder. They try to force reality to cooperate. But great leaders understand something important here. The goal and the plan are not the same thing. You can stay committed to the outcome while changing the path. And strong leaders, they're not protecting the plan, they're protecting the mission. And finally, great leaders take action. They test instead of guess. Most people wait until they feel confident, but confidence usually comes after action, not before it. And this is something I've had to learn myself while building my own business. When I first started Rooted for Success, I thought I needed the perfect strategy, the perfect offer, the perfect website, message, and plan. But what I've learned is that certainty rarely comes first. Action comes first, then clarity follows. So over the last few years, I've tested a lot of ideas. Some worked, some didn't. I've launched things I was convinced people would love, and it went absolutely nowhere. And I've tried things I wasn't sure about that created opportunities I never even expected. So every few months, I'm looking at the data and asking, what's working? What's not? What did I learn? And what assumptions did I have that turned out to be wrong? Because if something isn't working, I don't want to spend the next 2 years defending it. I want to learn from it. I want to pivot. I want to move forward. That's what great leaders do. They don't wait for certainty. They create it through action. And when conditions are uncertain, the goal isn't to be right. The goal is to learn. And learning requires movement. So instead of asking, what's the perfect decision, ask, what's the next decision? What's the smallest test I can run? What's one thing I can learn this week? Because action creates information, and information creates clarity, not the other way around. Now, this was one of the biggest shifts I had to make as a leader. When I was working in a very volatile cannabis space, uncertainty was something that was everywhere. So you cannot eliminate uncertainty. It is something you have to learn to navigate. And the leaders who struggle the most aren't usually the ones with the least amount of information. They're the ones waiting for certainty that never comes. The leaders who thrive aren't the ones who predict the future. They're the ones who update faster, separate facts from assumptions, stay curious, adjust their path, and learn through action. Because when nothing is clear, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about being willing to move forward without them. So if there's one thing you're going to take away from this video, it's this. Stop waiting for certainty. Ask better questions. Run small tests. Learn faster. That's all I got. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss one.